Uh-oh, Dukes of Hazzard.
No. Blues Brothers, man. Blues Brothers at the very end,
Or Thelma and Louise. Wow.
I was going to say,
It's
more Thelma and Louise than any.
Welcome back, everyone, to the podcast, the official other almost perfect podcast, which we are so proud of. This is actually
the other one or us?
Us.
Oh,
Give
okay.
credit where credit is due. We copied first, apparently.
Right.
We didn't know we did, but so. And I guess, does that mean we have to like share some of all the money we make off doing this? Will that make everybody else happy, or how does that work? All the sponsorship
Just give
deals?
them everything.
Come on, man. This is
Give
my
'em everything.
retirement. This is my retirement. Don't give
You know
away
what?
don't give away the farm.
We'll add a zero to the check, huh?
Okay.
That's right. That's
Okay.
what we'll do. I am John. I am here with our good friend Tom. Tom, how are you this morning, brother? I
I am very well. It's been nice in Corpus. We actually got rain, and I know parts of Texas got rain and needed it. So we are happy here in Corpus today.
We are, and we hope Brad's smiling. Hope you're a little bit happy, Brad. How are you?
I am good, man. We got 2 inches at our house here. It was awesome.
Very
2
good.
inches of rain, and yeah, that's it's about time. It's about time.
I haven't got to that point in my life where I have my own rain gauge yet. Where I can be the person who says, we got 1.5 inches. I rely on my neighbors and other people.
You don't do that anymore.
Not yet. I'm not
How
there
can you
yet.
not know how much rain you got? What else do you talk about at church?
Yeah, that's right. Jesus who, right? All right, and gentlemen, we have a special guest today, an esteemed guest today. Todd Salmi is here, and I just have to tell you, Todd is my homeboy, my main man. Todd and I were ordained together, which meant we spent 2 years in RIM together.
Two great mistakes that go great together.
That's right. And a lot of these clergy events and conference events, we're one of those two that find ourselves like in the back all by ourselves, kind of making fun of everything that's happening. And so I figured, why not have Todd join us so he can make fun of everything that's happening inside of this podcast too.
And we do want to add the Right Reverend Doctor.
Right, Reverend Doctor. Yes, Todd,
Yes.
Welcome. And would you real quickly just tell everybody what you just did with your life, man?
Yeah. So I was mentioned to the guys in pre-production. Is that what we call before we start the podcast when we're just chatting around? Can we call it pre-production? Make it sound more serious,
that's
right?
Great. That's great. Wonderful.
Yeah.
We have a name for that?
If we're not careful, this is all pre-production, man.
Right, exactly. No, I was just saying that I'm looking forward to this summer because I just completed my pandemic project, which was getting my doctorate at SMU, my doctorate in ministry. A lot of people say, oh, congratulations on your PhD. And now my wife has a PhD in biomolecular sciences from the University of Texas. She's the Dr. Salmi in the family. But I got my doctorate of ministry. And so it's kind of nice to get that all tied up and just be done with school. Like it's not even an option anymore.
There you go.
Well, good.
Congratulations, man. Congratulations.
Thanks.
So, just out of curiosity, so we don't call you doctor.
You call me Todd. That's what y'all call me.
Yeah.
And whatever.
Dr. Todd.
Sure.
But it almost sounds like, well, I sit in 3 box tops. Yeah, that was my pandemic project, 3 box top from Post, and I got my doctorate. But you actually did some work to receive that, so don't downplay what you did.
That's an earned doctorate, dude. It works.
So
Yeah,
what PhD is more research oriented, right? And a D-Min.
That's usually a 5-year program. And so you go into much more. You might do an IRB, a review board, and do some research, or you decide to translate a bunch of stuff from other languages. Whereas the doctorate in ministry is a practical theology. So you do 2 years of courses, and then you do a year of basically a self-directed study on a particular topic with an advisor and a reader. And then you write about 125 to 150 pages. And I'll tell y'all something I'm never going to do again is cite anything correctly again. I'm done with citation formats. There might be, I mean, I'm not going to plagiarize. I'll tell people where I got stuff, but the semicolon is going to be all over the place from now on. So.
That's hilarious. That's funny.
That's exactly right.
So welcome to our club. We not only don't properly give citation, we don't even properly quote. So
right. Good.
Yeah, we make things up.
Somebody said something or other some time ago.
Yeah, I mean, if you really want, that's what Google's for. You can figure that out on your own. Okay.
Exactly.
I mean, that's there's the classic like it's attributed to someone, right? And that's the way
somebody once said. That's my line.
I think it was something like,
Jesus would have said. So, Ty, what is your practical area of ministry?
Well, I work in college ministry at Texas State. And so I went ahead and spent some time thinking about young adults in the church, really thinking about both post-Christendom, what it means when the church is no longer kind of a central part of our culture, as well as thinking about the theological ideas of apostleship. So we talk a lot about discipleship in the church and forming disciples, but I wanted to spend some time thinking about apostles and thinking about what it means to actually send people out into the world and in their faith. Yeah.
All right, so we're going to ask you a little bit more about that in just a little bit. Before that, I got a couple stories I want you guys to hear, and you tell me what we take from this. You tell me if there's anything, or, I'll read one. You say, you know what, John, next. Okay. Is anybody here grandparents? No. Anybody like waiting for that day they can be grandparents?
Only after the kids get married.
Why don't you ask the question? Have anybody given up that hope or dream? And going,
has anybody given up that hope or dream?
Is anybody old enough to be a grandparent? Yeah, my younger sister is a great grandparent, so I guess I'm old enough.
So how about this? This is out of New Delhi. A retired Indian couple is suing their son and daughter-in-law, demanding that they produce a grandchild within a year or pay them the equivalent of $675,000. If you don't give me my grandkid, I'm going to sue you. You got a year to get on it.
So is there any explanation for the specific amount? I mean, that's a curious amount, no matter.
It's curious when you hear some of the explanation. Sanjeev Rajan Prasad, a 61-year-old retired government officer, said it was an emotional and sensitive issue for him and his wife, Sanhata, and they cannot wait any longer. His son, a pilot, was married 6 years ago. We want a grandson or a granddaughter within a year or compensation because I have spent my life's earnings on my son's education. And so the grandchild is a sort of return on investment for paying into the son's education. He said he spent $47,300 for his son's pilot training, but he's willing to sue for $675,000. What?
That's some pastor math right there.
That's right. That's right.
Man.
There were less than 1 million people at church yesterday. I know that for sure.
Yeah.
But probably more like 3 million.
I mean, does that even cross your mind?
43 million or 43,000? How much did he spend?
They spent $47,300, but they're going to sue for $675,000. Todd, is that how much you needed for your doctoral program you just finished?
Well, I was just thinking. I mean, I guess I spent a lot of money going to seminary, so maybe I should start suing parishioners that don't show up. Giving them a fine for every time.
This is the way we get everyone. I see. Todd's got me thinking now. Maybe I actually can afford it now. Let me see.
Right.
And then you go to those old appointments you've been to. You can get back pay from those folks. Right. Maybe. Oh my goodness.
And you're like, I hope not to see you here next Sunday because we're looking to take a vacation.
I'm fine with you not being
That's
here.
right. Matter of fact, we got some Sundays open. We need you not to be here.
I've got vacation time coming up.
That's right. That's right. I don't know. I mean,
And if the kid defaults and doesn't have a grandchild for the parents, and they sue, what court is this going to hold up in? I'm thinking, and if they can't pay, what does that mean? Are they going to dock his pay from here until, Jesus comes again? Or,
well, you've heard of child support. How about no child support?
this is no child support?
Yeah.
Oh,
Hey, man.
mercy.
Somebody had to be sitting in a room thinking, you know what?
Father of the Year award here, and I'm telling you,
That's
Father
Father's
of the Year
Day
award.
right around the corner. Father's Day. Use that in your Father's Day sermon,
I'm telling
Brad.
you.
There's a father in the world that's about to sue his son
For not making him a grandfather. Yeah. Send
Or
me that
Grandparents'
link.
Day.
I want that for Father's Day.
or Grandparents' Day. Oh, wow.
Ooh, wow.
Obviously, Brad just gave us a revelation. He's never looked at our website. If not, you would know. We put all of our links
Do
to
you
the
put all
articles
those links
in the
on there?
show notes. Thanks, Brad.
I look at Facebook, dude. That interweb thing is too complicated.
All right, very good. So,
First of all, we have a website. I know we have a podcast, but believe it or not.
Yeah, but
I
the
do
guys
actually,
on that website don't look anything like us.
yeah.
It's that other website, man.
oh, guys. Okay.
Meanwhile, back at the ranch.
Let's talk about some young people. That first story, some younger people not doing something to do well for their parents. But let's talk about some young people who are trying to change the world. Okay.
All right.
A team of Johns Hopkins. That's what
Baltimore,
right?
Baltimore.
University students are aiming to change the way people eat their burritos with a new invention: edible tape.
Edible tape.
Edible tape.
This is your tuition money at work.
The Whitting School of Engineering students who unveiled their Tasty Tape, Tasty, 2 E's, tape project for the school's engineering design day said they were inspired to create their edible tape by their own experiences with notoriously messy foods such as burritos, tacos, and wraps. So it's a tape you can consume. And that messy burrito just falls apart. Never again, Todd. Get the Tasty Tape on it and you can enjoy it. Nothing falls out and you don't even know you just ate tape, man.
Man, they can't even wrap the burrito right. Now you want to expect them to put tape on it? You got to carry your own tape?
I will say, this sounds very Maryland.
Oh, yeah, man. Oh, yeah.
I will say, it sounds intriguing to me. I'm going, that sounds like an idea that actually, pun intended, will fly, unlike a grandchild of a certain pilot. I mean, a child of a certain pilot.
See, you know what it sounds like to me? This sounds like an idea that somebody from South Texas University says, you know what? I got this idea and we're going to sell it to people in Maryland.
That's like taking cockleburrs up north and calling them a porcupine egg.
I have no idea what that means, Brad.
You don't know what a sandburr is? Little cockleburrs? They're the porcupine eggs. That's what they are. Anyway, go ahead.
You lost me, man. That's like, I've been to some of the churches I've served. They've been like small town, and some of the things some of these older folks come up with, how the cow ate the cabbage. What? What does this even mean, man?
It means worse methane gas than you've ever smelled before. Anyway, go ahead.
Speaking of gas, these messy burritos.
I'll say, I just want to say something about that tape there. I mean, what we always do when we get those is we get, a taco and then we get 2 or 3 extra tortillas. And what you do is you just kind of let them fall on there because it's just like the miraculous fish and loaves. The tacos just keep making more tacos. Keep coming out. Yeah, make more tacos. So
multiplying the tacos, man.
Right. So
you're defeating the joy of eating a burrito and a wrap.
Taped burrito.
Yeah, no, keep your tape, I say. You guys, Tom, you may be intrigued. You may want to invest in this, but I say keep your tape.
Keep your.
I guess they could make it with like some hot sauce or something like that. So you got a full, spicy something on there. I mean, what does it taste like? Because they're calling it tasty tape. It's got to have some sort of flavor.
Well, I mean, they're putting 2 E's on taste, so it must be flavorful. But if you've ever
seen the vowels.
But if you've ever seen my tacos, I mean, I need more than a piece of tape for my salsa or whatever I'm going to put on it. So
I'm just saying that Johns Hopkins University is one of the most prestigious research universities in the world. And this is what they're coming up with? Really?
This is the engineering department, Brad.
I mean, really, though? Come on.
So what does that tell you about the state of our world? We need people who are better at eating burritos and tacos.
If you can't wear it, it ain't worth eating. Anyway.
That's right. My shirt is a magnet, man.
I'm telling you, right? All up and down your arms, in your eyebrows. It's everywhere. You got to wear it.
No. You guys wearing light colors. How do you get through the day? That's the patterns with all these darks on it, right? It just
Paisley. That's right, man.
Right.
Exactly. Bunch of show-offs. That's what they are. All right, guys. So let's talk a little bit more. We want to ask Todd. Todd, how long have you been in campus ministry?
So I'm completing my 5th year.
Wow.
So I've been doing this for 5 years, which is both incredibly short, but considering that most students take 5 to 6 years, no, they take about 4 years or so. You see maybe 2 or 3 cycles of students in that time, or not see, especially since 2 years of it has been during the pandemic. So it's been a wild ride.
And were you sort of led to that ministry, something you kind of always envisioned yourself doing, or did somebody say, God, we need somebody to fill in, Todd?
Yeah, absolutely not. I had no plans I didn't go to college ministry I went to UT in Austin and just a bunch of, heathens up there and stuff like that. So church was not on my mind. I mean, I always considered myself a Christian, but I didn't think about, can't wait to be in college and do college ministry. I kind of ended up here by accident, serving as a pastor at the First Methodist Church of San Marcos, and just seeing a need here of, we got 38,000 students here at Texas State. It's most people think about Texas State as a small, sleepy teachers college, but it's, it fluctuates between the 4th and the 5th largest university in the state of Texas. Its enrollment is larger than Texas Tech. And so, we should have some sort of meaningful interaction with 38,000 people. Right. Mm-hmm. And, when you're seeing like 1 or 2 people, something's off, something's wrong with that. And so just started trying to reach out to them and ended up getting connected, ended up enjoying it. And then, the bishop's like, go do that for a little while. So that's what I've been doing.
Cool.
And guys, Todd, Brad, jump in with any questions you have. But as you think of that, so what is it that you have learned about young adult ministry or young adult faith that you didn't have any sense of when you kind of fell into it initially?
Yeah, I think what I would say is that contrary to popular belief in the church, young adults want to be connected in their faith. Like, they're interested in growing spiritually. They're interested in trying to figure out what their purpose in life is. A lot of them are going to school because, they wanted to get a degree. They're looking at their careers. They're thinking about, they're navigating these new relationships, roommates, romantic relationships, friendships. They're trying to think about where they're going to move. Do they go back home? Do they go somewhere different? Do they travel the world? They've just got a lot of thoughts in their minds. And it can be a pretty lonely time as a young adult. You're constantly moving. I think that I read somewhere once that, between the ages of 18 to 25, people move 5 times. So that's just a lot.
Will you cite that for me first?
Yeah, sure. So I've heard people say that they move 5 times, semicolon. Yeah. And so I think I think the thing is, a lot of the dreams, a lot of the things that motivate older people, wanting to, find a sense of belonging with a group of people, wanting to find a purpose in their life, wanting to make a difference in their communities. Young adults want to do that as well. If anything, what I'll say is that the biggest thing that I've come to realize is that I think that the church has given up on young people, and the church actually expects and almost encourages them to be absent, which is startling and deeply worrisome to me. And then when I point this out to people, they're like, doing the same stuff.
All right, so full stop.
Yeah, I was gonna say,
go ahead, Tom.
My question is, what, unpack what you just said.
I was just about to ask them to do that.
I was gonna say, we've been working this together for a while, John, but it comes back to specifically kind of unpack that, how the church has given up, or
because the church doesn't say that, right?
No, and I'm just curious what it looks like through the eyes of, say, a college student.
Yeah, well, the church doesn't say it, but the church does it, right? I mean, that's just, actions speak louder than words in this. And so kind of just to back up here for a second, one of the things that we talk about, we look at church decline and the decline in membership, and we often have these conversations, if we just change the institution, if we just reorganize things, if we just figure out our polity, kind of our church, the way that we operate church, things will be better. Or if we say, we just get our doctrine right, if we just understand, Jesus a little bit better, that things will work out. But there was a recent article, insert citation here, in the United Methodist Church, where it talks about the decline in American membership in the Methodist Church. And the leading reason for decline is due to the death of our members, because we are an old denomination. But we are one of the oldest faith communities in the United States. The average age of the United Methodists is 57 years old, where the average age of an American is 38. So what I'll say here is we're in a season right now of senior celebrations in church. Everybody's like, coming in here and celebrating their graduates. And what we do, like, the way to be successful as an American is to raise your kids so that they leave and go off and live on their own, right? I mean, that's what kind of the idea that we try to do here, right? If a child stays at home or is taking a little bit of time, we're like, oh, they're finding themselves, they just need a little bit more time. Well, it's the same type of thing. So the church, and I'm speaking particularly here about the American church, has adopted that same approach. So we have this Senior Sunday where we say, we've invested these 18 years in you here. We're so glad that you've kind of sort of been here, maybe, because anybody can just show up. We're going to give you, a prayer, maybe a commemorative plate, maybe a Bible or something, which is kind of funny. We're giving you a Bible at the end of everything. And then we say, basically, see you later. You're done with youth group. There's no real activity we got here. It's like a senior send-off. And we encourage them to go out into the world, and we don't connect them. I serve here for 5 years. I've served as a college ministry person, and I can literally count on my hands 10 or less the number of people who've reached out to try to connect young adults with me here at Texas State. We just give up on our young adults. We don't view them as our opportunity to stay connected, to send them forward, to try to find out where they're going and connect them with the community. And that's the thing. We think it's someone else's problem, or we think it's, the young adults are going to do it. And to be quite honest, we're really just waiting for those young adults to have kids and bring them back and start them off with the children's program again. I mean, that's how it is. We have a blind spot of young adults between the ages of 18 until they have kids. So kind of tying into that story. Yeah.
Coming back, for one thing, within our community, we have Texas A&M Corpus Christi, which is a fairly vibrant campus, and I've been out there for different reasons. I, as a baseball fan, they've got a baseball team. I've been out to watch a game, and the campus is beautiful. What I don't know is if I'm interested in the lives of young people, that you're talking about, how do I become connected within that sphere?
Yeah, I think part of that is just paying attention to the young people who are currently connected to us. And so we have part of that problem is, I would say, that the church doesn't know young people. And that's not young people's fault. That's kind of our responsibility to get to know people. And I think what I would say is, young people want the same things that older people will. They're just not willing to put up with the nonsense that we've just kind of grown numb to in the church. You know what I'm saying? Like,
are you talking about me or what?
Well, the thing is when people, these young adults tell me that they'll try to get connected to a church, and they're either greeted as a visitor for the first 6 months that they go, and they finally give up because, they felt like they're held at an arm's length there, or, they're suggesting like, hey, we've got this great opportunity. We can't wait to connect you in ministry. You should work in the nursery and babysit the kids so we can do something else, or, hey, we've got this great committee project. Why don't you do this thing that we've kind of run out of time and energy and passion to do? So why don't you do the stuff that we don't want to do anymore, but we feel bad about letting going, and so we're just going to push it on you.
Watch out. And do it the way we always did it.
But do it the way you are. And when it's not as successful as this idea that we have in our mind, then we're just going to complain about you.
Brad, does any of this kind of ring true to your experience?
Oh God, you have no idea. And I'll be honest with you, in many of the churches that I've served, this has been the problem that I've found with congregations, is that when a youth graduates and goes off to college or goes off to wherever, the assumption is that, well, in the college town, there's obviously going to be a church somewhere that's going to be able to take care of these youth who are now young adults, who are now college students, who are now on their own for the first time, and they'll have the programs there to keep them in the church. And every time I move to a town that has a college in it, I wonder where those churches are, because none of our churches are really doing that. Yeah. And so we basically have just kicked them out the door and said, good luck, and we don't even say God bless. We just say good luck and wonder where they are. And, here we sit. I'm a church that's probably 4 miles from, A&M Corpus. And our ministry here, we just started a young adult class, which is probably one of the things. I just lost my camera again. Y'all still there?
We can hear you.
Yeah, I'm losing my camera again. Sorry. Anyway, the young adult class is exactly what a college student wants to go sit in. I mean, you think about it, right? Another class. Let's just make it another class. And
no credit? God.
And no credit. Well, there's no final exams and there's no term papers, but still,
Oh, you haven't been to one of my classes, Brad.
Well, and the other thing that we really struggle with in all of this is this never ending sense of, we forget what life as a college student is like. Oh, by the way, our class starts at 9 a.m. on Sunday. Okay, well, we'll move it to 10 a.m. Will that work for you? Instead of trying to reach college students where they are in the lifestyle that they're now having to deal with, we don't make room for them. We expect them to fill the gaps where we are. And that's, it's backwards. Everything about it is backwards. And we wonder why they don't come. And then we don't stay.
And what we do as the church is we end up blaming the university. Oh,
yeah.
The university made them secular, or the university took their belief from God. Well, I mean, you just sort of let them go.
Right.
What do you expect? Right. So if you let that connection go, if you're not fostering that connection as a church community, I mean, what can we expect will happen?
Right.
Well, let me give you. So I'll cite. Here's a citation right here. There's There's a book called Almost Christian by
Creasy
Dean.
Oh yes.
And who?
By Kenda Creasy Dean.
Okay.
You'll see it. Just look on the website. It'll be there with the notes for this podcast.
Yeah, Brad, it'll be there.
You have a website?
In proper Chicago citation. I'm gonna check. I'm gonna do a check on that.
Okay.
But she talks about how the church has created this cult of niceness, right? That we've created this. What we do is we come in here and we teach our young people basically to be nice, and that is what it means to be a Christian. And so we're super successful. Yeah, absolutely. We're super successful at what we do. Mm-hmm. The church makes these young people feel unconditionally loved. It makes them feel like that they're accepted. It makes them feel like that they're good people. It makes them feel like that they will always have a place if they want to at the church. Mm-hmm. And so when they leave, we fill them up with their tanks, at least as far as their identity is concerned. And so they're able to go off in the world and feel like that they're doing okay. And I will say that's a great thing, because there's other people who grew up in an unchurched situation which don't have that, and they deal with a lot of anxiety and stress. But the point there is that what she says is we get what we get out of this. Like, we don't give them a sense of purpose. We don't give them a sense that there's a distinct community of what it means to be a Christian. Like, we talk about like spiritual gifts. That's kind of a Methodist thing to talk about, but do we ever actually work with our young adults who are deciding what they're going to study in college or their careers and say, let's sit down with you for 2 or 3 weeks and think about what your gifts are? I mean, that's not part of our confirmation process, is it? We're busy explaining people what sanctification are, and that's super important, right? But where's that practical aspect of like where people are at to say, like, I think that this is how the Holy Spirit may be working with you. How do you think you're going to respond to God in your life?
Yeah.
So in your particular context, Todd, you talked about apostleship. Tell us what you mean about seeing that in young adult ministry, or what your sense is after, your program, and how you fit that into what you do there at Texas State.
Yeah. So most people think that it started off when I started being a college pastor, AKA youth pastor. That's what I always got referred to for a while there.
2.0.
Right. The remix.
Mm-hmm. He's back.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people are like, well, good. How many people how many pastors are you making? Right. Like, that's a common metric in the college ministry. And I gave that up pretty quick, because I was trying to take people through the discernment process, take them through the structures. And I don't know, I have to cite this, but I've heard it said that sometimes our discernment process in the United Methodist Church is a little challenging and broken. I read that somewhere. But
look at some of the people it produces.
Right. But it really, actually, to be honest, our discernment process, it produces stubborn people who are willing to push through things and who are willing to jump through the hoops to make things happen. And it's not really nurturing someone in the vocational discernment and in their spiritual growth of how God is calling in their life. It's like, dude, did you get your paperwork done on time? Because that's your responsibility. And there's absolutely an important aspect of it, but I think that there's an imbalance of that. And so, I showed up here at the college ministry because I'm here at Texas State, and there just wasn't anyone at home. There was like maybe one student involved in the ministry. And so I set this goal that we were going to be engaged with 1% of the student population. And so that's 400 students. We're going to grow our ministry to be engaged with 400 students, which would kind of make us one of the largest, congregations in the Hill Country district. Mm-hmm. But also 1%, they say, I think somewhere something like 4% of people in grow up as Methodists. So, we're even just trying to get 25% of people who identify kind of as Methodists, but we don't just stop there. And so really my goal is to really know that I'm trying to help young adults, equip them for being what the next version of the church is, because this version of the church that we're doing is just going to fade at some point. So my goal real quick is, and just to use some institutional language here, is to create the next lay leaders, is to create the next Sunday school leaders, is to create the next people who are leading committees. And I don't know what that is in their lives, right? Like, that's the thing. And so I've created a cohort process, a semester long process where we spend basically 6 conversations with a group of about 12 young adults. And we wonder how God is at work in their lives. We, do the Enneagrams. We do a spiritual gifts assessment. We work and we try to say, like, what are your gifts and graces? Where do you feel like you're being called? And it's really just a curiosity in their lives and giving them a group of people to discuss that with. And so when people talk about changing their major because they feel like they're being called in a different direction, that's great. I think I'd rather have a teacher who is, in the public schools, who is firmly grounded in the love of Jesus Christ, rather than, someone doing something inside the church that never talks with people. So, and the thing is we only get these college students for a short time, right? Like, we know we're going to send them, right? And so that's kind of where this whole idea of apostleship came. It's like, our goal here is to send them out into the world. So we're sending people back into they come from the Valley, they come from Corpus, they come from San Antonio, they come from wherever. We're sending them back somewhere. And they're going to need to have the skills and the faith and the formation so that they can continue that and work with others to build the church.
So then, if the church has sort of given up on young adults, and if we hear that, and as much as it may jolt us, like, whoa, what do you mean? I love my kids or our kids.
Sure.
But then we sort of realize, well, maybe we have dropped the ball, right? So then if kids are away at college, or if I'm in a college town, but I have no kind of sense of how I engage with college-aged people, how does the church begin to reconnect to that group?
Yeah, well, I think that's where we're a connectional church. I think I heard you guys, Brad, I heard you joking about, the extension ministry table, those people that sit in the back of annual conference. That's not the retired, and then us college ministers sit back there. So, kind of we sit in the exile. I mean, I like it. It's cool. I'm happy to be there because we don't have assigned seating. Nobody knows if we're there or not. But
you can seriously talk, all kinds of stuff back there and nobody hears.
Right. But, the thing is you guys don't have to do this alone. Right. And we can't do it. Like, we can't do, like, your college ministry people cannot do this without the local church saying, like, hey, I want to connect you. And so I've kind of said in some conversation with my colleagues who are talking about, what gifts should they get their seniors for senior send-off. I was like, you should set a Google reminder on September 15th to follow up with those graduates to see where they are and they're connected. And I got like maybe one like, and then the conversation moved on to like dish towels or something like that. And so I think the thing is, if you are in a local church and you're interested in getting connected with young adults, find someone who is doing it in another community and say, hey, what are you doing? What can I borrow from you? What could work well? Like, I'm happy to share ideas. And likewise, if you want to get connected with young adults, I think the best thing to do is to try to develop one-on-one relationships. I mean, it sounds super, super simple, but just like invite them to lunch, take them out for pizza, take them for tacos or something like that. That's the best way to get it started.
I think there's another disconnect here that is not related to the college ministry as much as it is to the local church. And it's not just that when we send our youth to college, but when they come home. You said this just a minute ago. You said, we're sending them back. I also noticed that there's a time and place where, or at least in the churches that I've served, where congregations typically go, oh, I'm so glad you're back home. But there's a failure to recognize that time away has given that person, that young adult, a fourth or a fifth of their life is now, they have matured massively during that time. But the church fails to see that maturity because we still think of that child as the one who used to be an acolyte. And there's no way in the world we could ever anticipate that person actually has a worldview now that could, in fact, impact the life of the church in a positive way for the building of the kingdom. That's a disconnect that the local church has. And that's assuming that the youth comes back to the local church after graduation. And I think
to the 8:30 traditional service,
or wherever, I mean, at all, do they come
Right.
back to the local church at all, or do they go to a church that they've already, if they have, and I'm not even saying church, that they're going to an organization that addresses their needs, their spiritual needs, in a more profound way that they have discovered on campus or off campus, but during that college year or the college years. They may not come back to their local church because the local church is still stuck back in the 1950s.
I mean, why would they? The church gave up on them. The church said,
exactly.
You don't need us. The church said, you don't need us anymore. Go out into the world by your own.
So what can we do as a local church to get out of that, to break that cycle? You know what I'm saying? And how can we begin to work with campus ministries intentionally to say, look, when they're coming out, help us to learn what they have, because college for me was a wild time. I went to 4 different universities in 5 years. I completed a 4-year degree in 5 years. I crammed it in, but I got it done. But I went to 4 different universities all over the country because I was living at home at the time and I was commuting, and home moved a lot. So, I mean, I get it when you're talking about kids have moved a lot.
Yeah.
That I would have loved to have had that lifestyle. Because, I'm 58 and I've moved 38 times in my life. So I got into ministry to quit moving so much, and that's but
wrong church, pal.
No, actually it has worked. I've actually slowed down a lot of my moving here, but the reality is, when the church itself fails to make that connection, that these youth who were acolytes and cute little kids running around and running up and down on the, wherever, now they're coming out as college educated adults who have not just an opinion, but a new worldview that is not the same. We need to begin to start having that conversation in the local church. And I don't know where to begin to start. And I'm hoping that maybe partnering with campus ministries to give us some insight as to what youth have gone through. Most of my church is college educated, but we don't remember it. We don't.
Well, I'll tell you. I mean, some of these young adults around here, like, they are engineering students, and I made this joke. I'm like, they got calculus. I'm like, who's practicing witchcraft at the UCM? Because I don't understand it. I mean, it's crazy. Right. I mean, they are really, really smart.
Yes,
we got people that are studying construction sciences. We got people that are studying nursing. We got people that are doing all of these types of things. People that have been leading Bible studies with their fellow young adults for like 3 years. Mm-hmm. And then they come back to the church, and just like you said, they're treated like that they have the functional equivalent of an acolyte.
Right.
And
I don't want to disparage acolytes by any means, but you get my point, right?
And that they're still learning, that they still have no idea. And right. In the meantime, in this alternate, at college, they've been doing this stuff. So one of the things that I constantly struggled with when I was at the local church trying to work with young adults was the church doesn't trust young people. Mm-hmm. It just doesn't trust young people. And so the first move I made when I got here was I hired the person who was here because I was like, I have one student in this ministry. I can't lose this ministry. So I'm gonna pay this student to stay here. Also, what I realized is that I was unequipped for understanding what young adults were going through. Like, I mean, I didn't know Snapchat. I don't know all that stuff. Right. And people ain't going to tell me, right? Because I'm the pastor. Mm-hmm. And so I just started investing in the young adults that were there so that they could make those connections. And so, for example, one of the things that I do is I tell our small groups, I'm like, I'm going to give you $50 a week to buy snacks or to do whatever. Mm-hmm. And they go off and they buy tacos or they go get coffee. And I just trust them to figure that out. And so at the end of like a 13-week semester, whatever, I paid $750 for something like that. I don't know. But that $750 investment has got 12 to 14 young adults that are connected, that are recurring, that are having these faithful conversations. If I tried to go off to a local church and say, would you spend $750 on a young adult? They'd, well, let's take it to finance committee, and then let's take it to missions committee. And, we should have these young adults. You know what? These young adults, they should really earn their way. So why don't they have why don't they have a what we'll do is we'll do a lunch, we'll do a spaghetti lunch, we'll charge $3.50 after church, and we'll raise the money for this and stuff like that. And then we wonder why they're not around, and
McDonald's is hiring right now, they could get a job.
I know. And it would have cost the church, it would have cost the church nothing to just give to this. And then we're like, young people don't care about the church anymore.
See, this is why I love Todd. Todd and I, not only do we agree on a lot of things, but this is the way it is, y'all. You just need to hear it this way, right? Why are we playing around with this? One of the things I also want to include in this conversation, I think is important, is we talk a lot, obviously, about college ministry, but also young adult ministry, right? Because a lot of our kids aren't going to college. And I think, Todd, you said a while ago, very truthfully, I think church kind of waits for the college kid to go get married and then have kids. And then they'll come back, right?
Because we know how to do children's ministry. We know how to do that well, or we think we know how to do it.
We think we
got the structures.
The problem, a problem with that is, before, and another generation or two ago, the time between when they went off on senior Sunday, got married and had a kid was right here. Well, now more and more, you're talking about
10 years or more. Yeah,
exactly. You're talking about young adults getting into their 30s before they get married, whereas before they were getting married in their 20s. They're not having kids till later. If we're going to be content to wait for them to have kids to maybe think about coming back, no wonder we are where we are.
Yep.
Well, that's the thing, so for example, when the church isn't in their lives, so one of the trends that we have with young adults is that they're hyper connected, right? That they've got all of these social medias and networks. They've grown up as digital natives and all that type of stuff, right? So they've got a high degree of connectivity, and yet they're extremely lonely. And that's only been added by the 2 years of the pandemic. And so some of and then also the divisiveness of our culture. They're not sure if they show up, particularly at the church, are they going to be loved or condemned? It's super scary for young adults to even take that. So if you ever have a young adult, and I'm talking anyone under the age of 35 at this point, that shows up into your church, that is probably one of the bravest people that you have ever seen walk into your church. And I think that particularly as pastors, we have a responsibility to stop whatever we're doing and really try to make an invitation and appreciation that they're there. It's not someone else's job. That's our job, right? Like to reach out to them. But yeah, John, you're absolutely right. People will find their own support networks. If we're not there, people, they get in social organizations, they join the Greek system, they join their professional organizations. Those just transfer into like LinkedIn and the soccer fields and stuff like that. And look, the sports that has been so successful because it is filling a community gap that the church has given up on, right? I go to the sports fields. My daughter started playing volleyball. My two oldest are not into sports. And so I would always I bought into the church narrative that the sports are just distracting. And then I went there and I was like, this is more diverse than our churches. People are excited and they're rooting on people. Like, we care about our children in ways that the local church doesn't. We're here to make this investment. We're here with this dedication. And I was like, I get why people do this. People do this.
Well, I feel bad now. Go ahead, Tom.
I've gotten background noise, so I keep muting. But I remember having this conversation with somebody. They were going, we go by the soccer fields on Sunday morning, and those parents and their kids should be in church. And my reply was, that's where the church needs to be. It's not, they need to come to us. We need to go to them. And what you're saying there, Todd, is I in my mind, there's always this instead of let them come, is let us go and be within the community around us and know what's happening. So that, I'm going to cut out though and mute and listen more, because just there's been a lot of noise. They're digging up my backyard now. So
Well,
So
and
is our podcast. A bunch of noise. Go ahead, Todd.
Yeah. So just to pick up on that, making disciples is our mantra. And I just think, at the end of the Gospel of John, the fisher of men have become fishers of fish again, and they're sitting in their boat, not catching anything. And we are just trying to get people in the boat, anyone in our net, anywhere, and just getting them in the boat that ain't doing anything. And, I guess they're naked in the middle of the night, unproductive in this boat, just floating around there. Right. And that's really not where the story ends. The story starts. The next chapter is this apostleship, right? It's where the Holy Spirit sends people out. And I think that that's actually the unique gift of Methodism is, that we are a missional based, we want to cooperate with God's mission of salvation in the world. And so, when we are like, why aren't they coming to church and going to Sunday school? Like that's a discipleship based approach, which is absolutely important. We want to form people in their faith. We want to get them and nurture them in a relationship with God, right? But also Jesus said, love your neighbor, right? Those are two different, they're the same commandment, right? But they're two different parts of that. And so when we just retreat on Sunday morning and complain about how the world doesn't care about the church anymore, I think we just need to flip that script. And that for me is what apostleship does.
Amen. Well, Todd, we're going to have you back, man, because this is
good stuff.
Something that's near and dear to me. And I'm sure to the other guys as well. As someone who has for almost 20 years now, probably more than 20 years, taught youth Sunday school and been a part of college ministry with young adults as the best I can. I feel bad now because I criticized Tasty Tape. This was an idea of young people, and I should have been more supportive. But I will be supportive enough to tell them, I like that you guys are thinking. I just don't like the idea. Don't make me eat Tasty Tape.
See, so for example, this is what we serve: the flaming hot Mountain Dew, right? You gotta go where the people are.
So
right?
flaming hot Mountain Dew is incarnation.
Do we have to pay royalties on that?
Idea.
I don't know. I'm just curious.
Terrible idea, but we make mistakes together, right? We're sinners and saints.
Hold on to that for Pentecost.
Yeah.
Right. All right. Well, Todd, thank you for that. I appreciate it. Truly, man. I hope you'll come back a lot, help us talk about some of this. I always appreciate having a chance to have. These are the kind of conversations we need to be having as the church. That's what we seek to do. So, Brad, Tom, thank you, of course, for the gift of your time. And if you're listening or watching on Facebook or Anchor or on our website,
we got a website,
YouTube. Sheesh. However you're listening, I'm glad you're listening. Thank you for the gift of your time. Let's hear what you have to say. Has the church given up on young adults? What's been your experience and what can we learn from here? And the next time Todd comes back, we'll finish that up. So until then, have a great rest of the day. If you want to go try Tasty Tape, I mean, who am I to say no? Just do what you want. God loves you. God be with you.